Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Doug, and you're listening to What's the Hazard? We are back. I think we've been gone for a while, a couple months. I don't know if Joe Rogan gets burned out, but I got burned out, man. You know, doing an episode every Friday.
Joe Rogan definitely gets burned out.
He must. Well, he uses other remedies for that kind of burnout thing, I think, that I employ. But so we're back, and we've got episodes scheduled for the next few every other week for a few months, so it's looking good. I've got a guest in studio this morning. You probably recognize him as the Bearded Camper, but he does have a life other than the Bearded Camper. Jeff Lucas, you are the Director of Safety for a large local manufacturing facility, who shall remain nameless until one of us screw up and say it.
And say their name, yeah.
Right. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, man, not a problem. It's been
a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. You've asked me to be on here I don't know how many times, and I keep pushing it out, and it's been a real honor to watch you grow in this niche. I know, look around, right? Giving you flowers right now. But,
brother, I appreciate that.
No, social media is hard. Any type of media is hard. And to be consistent with it, as you've been, I mean, I watch your videos.
I appreciate that, man. You and my mother and
I think like 3 other people.
Yeah, there's about 5 of us. Cam is forced to watch them. Cam's in the booth today. Welcome back, brother. Man, it's good to see you. So he actually, we converted Cam into a safety guy. He listened to so many episodes that he volunteered for the company safety committee.
Nice. All 2 of you?
Yeah, I got my orange vest and everything.
He's got everything, man.
So you got that 50-50 split, management, hourly. I don't know.
Exactly. So it does have an impact, but it's good to finally get you here.
I appreciate you.
We've been friends now for quite a long time.
Seems like forever.
It does seem like forever. It was, I think, certainly maybe since my OSHA days, and
I think the first time I met you, was back in 2009.
That might be right.
At the previous company I worked for,
15, 16 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you have a really interesting story. I want to hear that, and I want to hear about, the Bearded Camper as well. I've got 2 quick announcements, and then we'll get started. First of all, we've been gone for a few months, haven't recorded for a few months. I've been in rehab. I've been rehabilitating myself. But John Fallowich Construction, who has been a sponsor of the program for years, just reached out and said, hey, man, you didn't hit me up for money this year. Do you want help with the program? And I was like, God, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. So to John and Matt Fallowich and all the folks at Fallowich Construction Services, sincere thank you for reaching out and supporting the program. That helps immensely. Number 2, and there are only 2, but the second item is one of my sons, Kent, the older boy, the outdoor guy, he's kind of a climber, he's a snowboarder, skater, that guy, just published a book on Amazon. It's called Advanced Bouldering Tactics. So I would like each of you to go out. I already
bought it.
I think it's $5.
It's $5, yeah.
Go out, drop the $5, pick up. You seem like a guy that boulders a little bit.
Yeah, well.
You climb on rocks once in a while?
I try to climb on them and not have them land on me.
Don't land.
I just want to make sure if I'm climbing them, I'm not going to trip them over.
Well, yeah, man. I was kind of, thank you for buying it.
Hazard recognition, right?
It is, exactly. That's what we do, man. Yeah, that's why I don't do anything adventurous. Everything looks like a hazard to me at this point. But, yeah, so check out Kent's book. Kent is a really gifted writer, and I think he's been struggling with this first one. He's a little bit timid about, putting his writing out there, so I was really proud of him and happy for him. So go check it out. You got $5, I know you do, so drop that on the book, and maybe
I haven't listened to it yet because I got it on the Audible.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's on Audible too. So
is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, very interesting. Whose voice is it?
I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh,
you sent me the link. I caught it. I mean, I just do what I'm told.
All right, Jeff. Let's get to Jeff Lucas. Yeah, man. We were working together. You are a friend, a colleague, and also a client. So I'm going to try not to offend you during the course of this.
I don't think you could possibly do that.
I hope not, man. It wouldn't be intentional. But we were talking the other day. I was out at your facility not too long ago. Some of the systems that you have put in place, to me, I find remarkable. You are actually really gifted with this technology stuff. And you kind of come across as this dopey camper guy. But the reality is, you are really good at using technology and programming and systems to deal with the magnitude of what you do, because your facility is enormous, lots of employees. But I would like to start with how you got into not only safety, but this world of food processing. How did that all start for you, man?
So, it was a long time ago. So I first started off in the pork industry.
Okay.
My father was in the military. I was in the military. As soon as I got out of the services, I decided to move back home. Well, they just opened a pork processing plant, and I was looking for work. So I got in there, got into their maintenance department. That's where I met my wife. And she had a family that lived out here in Omaha, and I went to a couple cryovac schools and stuff like that, so I met some guys that worked in the beef plants out here. We come out here on vacation one time. I just decided to go visit them at one of the beef processing plants, and they offered me a job on the spot. And I was like, oh, well, they're like, when can you start? And I'm like, well, I'm out here for vacation. So that week that I was out here, I ended up getting a new job, had to go find a place to live, go back home, put my notice in. Next thing I know, I'm in Omaha. Started off in that processing plant. Then I moved over to the one right across the street. I was still in maintenance at the time, and one of the first things we did was there was a breakdown on the floor. And they wanted me to get up there and fix the hydraulic leak or whatever, and I hadn't been through lockout tagout yet. I didn't even have any locks. And so me and the plant manager at the time, really good friend of mine today, but me and him got into it on the floor, and he ended up calling my boss up to the floor, said, hey, man, I don't know who this guy is. He's not doing what I want him to do. Get him off the floor, blah, blah, blah.
So
blah.
You were aware of lockout tag?
Yeah.
You knew that it needed to be used, and you refused to do it?
Yeah, I refused.
Good for you.
So, in the military, we have all kinds of safeties and processes and, policies that you're supposed to follow. So they kind of beat safety into your head. And then when I got over to the first beef plant, I was a maintenance supervisor. So I was in charge of, a crew of like 20 to 30 guys. I had to follow up on the safety thing and all that stuff. And I really wasn't looking to get into safety. Usually people in safety are there, they have a real passion for it. They're dedicated to it. They went to schooling for it. Or some old crusty dude who lost a finger and they didn't have nothing else.
Can't do anything else.
Can't do anything else, but he was always at work. But so we're up on the floor going at it with this plant manager, my boss, Tony DiGiacomo, which you know.
Mm-hmm. I know Tony.
He come up and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? I said, well, I haven't been through lockout tagout yet. And the system that they had in place is the maintenance guys weren't required to carry their locks with them. They had like a rack outside of Tony's office, and he's like, well, if you need a lock, you can come down here and get it. And I'm thinking, the production floor is upstairs. We get a breakdown. You want me to come all the way downstairs to grab a lock? And so I went out and I looked at the locks, and the brass was all tarnished and green, like nobody been using it. And
had never been off that little bit.
Look, they were bought brand new and they just sat there. But Tony had a vision. He just got back from some safety conference. I think it was in Denver. And he's like, I noticed we really have a gap in our safety. And he's like, do you think you could help me build a maintenance training program around safety? And I'm like, I said, I don't know, man. I can try. I said, it's a process. I mean, I know about that. So I ended up calling Stan Kurtsuba, who was the EHS director for the beef company I worked for at the time. And he has the same approach to safety as I do. It's there's no copyright to safety, right? It should be shared with everybody. So he gave me all the stuff I asked for. We ended up developing this maintenance safety training program, and it took me about 6 months. But we ended up getting everybody ran through it. Well, word got to Kathleen Krantz, which I credit her as being one of the best mentors that I've ever had.
Awesome.
And so she got word of what I did. I get called up to her office. I had no clue who she was. I'd only been at the company.
But she was up in the front office.
She was up in the front office. I didn't know we had a front office, honestly, because I was back in the dungeons.
Right.
So I get called up there, and she's like, hey, do you think you could do that for the rest of the plant? And I'm like, sure. She said, well, so it was funny. She's like, she's put the offer on the table, and she's like, go home, talk to your wife. And I looked at the number, and I'm like, I already knew what I'm doing.
Yes.
If I could sink or swim, I'm making this money. And so that's how I kind of got into safety. And it was really weird. First thing you always do when you take over a new position, is you want to review what they already currently have. So I wanted to look at, what the policies were, what the standards were that they had implemented. And so I just grabbed a program just at random. And the first thing I did is when I opened it up, I was like, oh, this is a print off of the OSHA's webpage. That was what they were using.
Just printed out the regulation.
Like, here's our policy. Whatever OSHA says, that's us. That's what we're doing. And I'm like, that's not how that works. So then started working with Steve Spolich. And he came out. He helped me.
Safety counsel at the time?
No, he was already independent. This is right before he started safety reports.
Okay.
So this is I think he was at Lockton.
Lockton or Holmes Murphy or something at the time.
I think it was Lockton. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I asked him, I said, man, help me out with this. And so we developed a safety, health, and wellness program, and we started breaking, each procedure down. Then we had to run the whole plant through it and stuff like that. So I stayed over there for like 14 years. That's how long I was there. And then this opportunity where my current role is at is opened up.
Which is amazing.
Oh, I love it.
It really is amazing.
I love it there. I mean, that is the best work environment I think I've ever been a part of. It's what's awesome is it starts with the COO, right? Like, he has a passion for people. He has a passion for making sure that it's people before product, which is really weird in the industry that I'm in. Because it's always, hey, keep the line running, keep the line running, keep the line. But he's not that way. He's built different, which was eye-opening. And
remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, to have that buy-in from the top and it trickled down all the way through. I mean, safety's an easy job, right? If it looks unsafe, it probably is. So you should probably write something on it, and then you train the people on it, make sure they understand it. But there's, no pushback, no nothing. It's like, Jeff, if you need it, I was like, what's my budget? If it's going to help our people, let's do it. He wants to do the right thing, which is awesome.
It sounds just like Paul O'Neill, who was the guy from Alcoa Corporation. That there's so much written about Paul O'Neill. He was the guy that said the same thing. We don't have a budget for safety. If it needs to be done, we do it. Just bring it to my attention. We'll discuss it. It'll get done. So for people that are unfamiliar with the food processing, specifically the meat industry, can you talk a little bit about, like, the first time you walked into that plant? I can remember the first time I walked into a...
Which plant are we talking about?
Any plant? Any plant.
Oh.
I remember when I walked in, when I was a new OSHA compliance officer, Frank Winningham, who was one of my training guys, one of the senior guys, took me to the big plant. I'm not sure who it was at the time, Swift maybe, out in Grand Island. It was beef. They called them slaughterhouses back then.
Is this before it went to JBS?
Well, maybe it was JBS.
JBS is, yeah.
But I walked in there, and it was so overwhelming.
They're intimidating.
I freaked out, man. I mean, just describe what we're talking about for people that have never been in a plant like that.
So the first thing you notice when you go into a plant is the smell, right? It can, depending on what type of industry. It's like, I've been in pork, beef, now I'm in poultry. I mean, if this gig don't work out, I'm going to seafood. Right? I'm going to get all of them.
Right.
Like, I'm going to move up to Alaska, work in a cannery. But no, they are very intimidating. There's machines moving everywhere. There's people everywhere. You have people with knives. I mean, they're very overwhelming. And as a new person, I'm coming from the fleet in the Navy. I mean, the first time I saw a Navy ship up close in person, it was the same thing. They're very intimidating because you see them on TV, you see them on commercials. They don't look as big as they are, and then you see them and you're like, holy crap. And it's the same thing with a packing house. You see them from the outside, you drive by, you get the smell, but then you get inside and you see all the intricacies of how that process works from the front of the house all the way to the back of the house. And it's amazing.
It is.
How our food is actually produced. Like, if you've ever had an opportunity to go in there and see it, it's like, holy crap. Because they start here, they're alive. They end here in a box on a truck.
They literally come in the door here, either mooing or whatever noise, boinking or clucking or whatever they do. And, yeah, they go out processed in the box. It overwhelmed me. And, of course, I had trainers that were just messing with me the whole time. They just couldn't, they see that weakness and they just exploit it.
Oh, yeah, I love it when we bring people out. And I'm like, first thing I always ask them, are you woozy? how are you with the sight of blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm fine. And then we take them up to the catwalk system at the old place. And I took, who was it? I think it was Bree from the safety council.
Yeah.
I took her up there. That was an adventure. Yeah, it's one of those things that you become accustomed to it. Like, you become numb after a while.
That's an interesting description.
Because it's just a job at that point, right? Mm-hmm. You've become acclimated to your environment, and it just becomes the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
And you're feeding your family, ultimately, right? I mean...
That's the thing, is like, it's providing me, you know, with the lifestyle that I have, but when you look at it, one of the things I try to, you know, I don't say impose, but teach while I'm out on the floors is I want people to understand, excuse me, the reason why they do what they do. Right. So we have a sanitation crew, and one of the biggest things is, you know, teaching them why they do what they do. Anybody can come in there and pick up a hose and sanitize, but do you know why you're doing it? I mean, we're feeding America, right? You're feeding your friends, your family. The last thing we want is, you know, bacteria to get on there and contaminate the product and get out into the public. So if they understand why they do what they do and the importance of it, they're more bought into whatever message you're trying to convey. They feel like they're part of the process. And a lot of places, you know, that I've worked, it's like it's plug and play with their people. Oh, we had a body here. He didn't make it. We'll just put somebody else in. But if you actually talk to your team members and they understand what it is they do, they feel like they have a voice. They have a say-so in what's going on. And I think that's what's really helped us in our culture where I work now is everybody's bought in. We have so many different systems where communication is vital, right? We'll have supervisors go talk to their hourly employees on a daily basis. And it's not just one of those deals where they're just out there to, hey, you know, so it's not all production related. We try to get them to understand, you know, that person on a personal level. So, I mean, it's paid huge for us.
And that is, I'm sitting here in awe of that because having been in most every packing house in the state of Nebraska, this is the exception, not the rule, man, what you are describing.
Well, and, you know, when I got into safety, and most safety professionals, you know, and I'm not saying this for 90% of them, but there's some of them out there that they're the chest beaters. We're the police. And I try to convey to my team, the safety team, we're not the police. We're a resource. We work for the people. So on my health service team, the safety team, we're all customer support at that point. There's an issue on the floor, team member comes up to you, they have an issue. It's our job to address that, give them that feedback, make them, you know, like I said, part of the process. They're out there every day, 9-10 hours a day doing a job that I know I couldn't do. And if there's, you know, issues, they're going to be the first to see it. And because they've worked there, they probably have a solution. You just have to talk to them. Because if we can sit up at our desks in our office, we can implement policies and procedures that don't even affect us because we're not the ones out on the floor. Those team members are. So we get a lot of feedback. I mean, we have a lot of great programs. Our training development team is amazing. They do great work with, we had talked about the touch points, right? One of the first things we did was we developed a mandatory stretching, pre-shift stretching program. Then we developed our work.
Let's talk about how many people we're talking about here, too, man, just for scope.
1,200 people.
1,200
Yeah, there's about
people.
1,200 people there. So we developed the stretching, then we developed our work hardening program. And the work hardening program goes basically through their first 90 days. It travels from the first day of orientation all the way through where, you know, our training development team will actually go out there and do what's called touch points. They'll follow up with them. Hey, how are you doing? Are you following the work hardening procedures? Like their first week of orientation, they're observing, right? And their last day, they're still on the floor, they're observing. And then we slowly implement them into their position. Like the first couple of weeks, they may be pulling half count or 50%, and then they'll work their way up to 100% of their job functions. And through that whole process, the supervisors, the training development team, they're doing these touch points with them, asking them, hey, how are you doing? Are you having any issues? Getting that feedback from that new team member. So we're already embedding that communication into that new team member to where they feel comfortable addressing concerns. I mean, because it's the only time you ever talk to your supervisor or your manager is when you're in trouble. There's an issue there, right? So we don't try to do that.
It's amazing, man. And you're tracking all that.
Everything is tracked.
We have an opportunity to see that system. So if someone has missed a touch point or something, it's identified and you can...
It's flagged. We get pretty much weekly reports. On the system we use is called a Safety Chain. I'm not plugging them, but they're awesome.
Safety Chain?
It's called Safety Chain, and you've talked to Cindy. You know, Cindy Serrano. She's developed that using their platform, and it's an awesome tool. That's where we do all of our safety observations. And anytime there's a failure during an observation, instant emails go out, flags it, notifies people. So we get real.
So talk about that a little bit. Are you talking about like a behavior-based safety type observation, or something that you've modified?
It's kind of a modified one that we developed in-house, and this is something we started at my previous employer, and it started to show really good results, but it didn't really take off until we put it at the new place, right? So there's three. You have your behavioral, you have your environmental, and you have a PPE. And our supervisors and management teams, they're required to do 3 of these a week.
3 observations.
3 observations a week. They can do any one of the 3 they want. They can do all 3 PPE, all 3 environmental. However, the thing that we had to, teach them is an observation is not an audit, right? A lot of people get confused on observations, audits. They kind of think they're the same. Well, they're not. An observation to me is a moment in time that you've captured. An incident, something good that's happened, anything like that, and you just capture it. We did get a lot of pushback when we first started. So my question to the team was, okay, well, what is your job? What is your role as a supervisor or a manager? And they were saying all kinds of stuff. And my first question to them was, well, do you talk to your people? Do you talk to people? Oh yeah, Jeff, we talk to our people every day. And I'm like, okay, well, do you observe your people? You check to see who's on the line. How do you have to move people around to make coverage? Are you watching your people? Are you watching the way they're performing their tasks or how they're doing what they're doing? Oh, yeah, we do that. This is a tool to give you credit for what you're already doing. Once they understood that, they bought in. So they go up to their team.
So you weren't asking them for more?
No, I wasn't asking them to do anything more than what they were already doing, except for the documentation part of it, right? And with the safety chain, we were able to put, because everything was on paper, right? So we put everything digital, because our management team, they're allowed to have devices on the floor because they have to track stuff, different other things. So we said, well, let's use this for safety too. Even though the name of the app is Safety Chain, they use it for everything. So we started off with I broke it up into like three phases, right? The first one, the safety team had to train all the management team members how to use this tool. And so they would go out, they would do their 3 observations. Well, then we said, okay, well, now we want you to talk to a team member. So we did that. About a month later, they started talking to a team member. So anytime they do an observation, one of the requirements is you have to talk to an hourly team member and ask them a series of 4 questions. Do you know your safety committee member rep? What's the most serious safety concern you have while performing your job? Do you have any ideas on how to improve safety? And what do you like about safety? So this way I can actually hold my team accountable, because that last question, what do you like about safety? That's where we set our benchmarks. Okay, they're saying this or they're saying that. But what I like about it is those conversation pieces of where they're seeing risks or they're seeing hazards, and what their ideas are to solve them has paid off huge, because we get that instant real time. It's not like you wait till safety committee and then you discuss it a month at a time. I mean, we're getting.
What does that mean, real time? Because the supervisor is putting this into safety chain as they're doing it, and it's flagging you or something?
So if there's a failure on it, say they don't know their safety committee member, it'll send out an email notification to the safety team, right? So once it sends that notification out, we see it, and we're like, okay. Well, and the supervisors, we ask them to come up with their corrective action, because at the end of the day, the team members work for them. They don't work for me, right? Like, our job is, like I said, customer service. We just manage the safety programs. We don't run the safety program. Our team members run the safety program, and they're all bought in. So if there's a failure or a deficiency in the auditing process, it'll flag it. It'll come to the safety team, and we'll take action right then and there. We'll go to the floor. We'll talk to the team members. We'll do stuff like that.
Wow. And so how many observations, if each supervisor is doing, I'm trying to get that math in my head here,
There's
three a week, but per supervisor, how many of these are happening every week?
It's right around 900.
Oh, my God, man.
That's about 900.
And you are responding to every deficiency that pops on one of those?
Well, so what we did, because it's very overwhelming, the amount of information that we get fed.
Yeah.
So I want to say probably about 3 months ago, I decided, we're going to take these conversations that they're having with the team members. And because I export it all, send it out. Because we just send out a weekly report. Where we're at with our TIRR, any incidents that happened, and the observations. We send that out to all the management team. And then we take the conversation piece, and I go through them, and I highlight them on an Excel. And then once a week or once every other week, me and the senior leadership will sit in a conference room, and we'll go through the comments and concerns that the team members are having, try to come up with a corrective action plan.
Every week you're doing this?
It's
every couple of weeks.
Every couple of weeks,
okay.
Because some of it, you're dealing with hourly team members, so some of their ideas or suggestions just aren't feasible.
Sure.
Like slow the line down.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
But no. So we'll sit down and we'll go through an action plan. Work orders are generated. We'll go back to the floor. We'll say, hey, we'll talk to that team member because based off of what their comments, and we'll give them that feedback. Hey, this is something we feel we can do, or hey, man, this just isn't feasible right now. We're getting ready to make changes. This problem's going to go away. That type of stuff.
Remarkable.
It's been fun.
It seems to be working, man, because it is an amazing plant. And
it's the cleanest plant I've ever been.
I was going to say, you asked me to come in and try to identify gaps and deficiencies. I was struggling to find anything that I felt critical about. I mean,
I'm more critical than you are.
Well, yeah, my background as an OSHA person, I'm looking for things that OSHA would consider, but you have a much higher bar.
Well,
your expectations are much higher.
You set the standard, right? And it's like, what is OSHA? Bare minimum requirements,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not our organization. We've set the bar so high. It's still everything we set that bar at it's attainable, but we want to constantly move the bar. We don't want to sit there. We don't want to be stagnant. So once we've identified a hazard or a risk and we've mitigated it, okay, what's next? I used to ask my team all the time. We would do stuff. Okay, what's next? I don't want to just sit there and be, that guy that's policy procedure driven all the time, hammering it in. No, I want to move the needle. I want to see what policies, procedures, or innovation can we put in to make the lives of our team members on the floor easier. I don't want them to work harder. Mm-hmm. We want them to be efficient at what they do with the process that we have, but we want to make it as comfortable for them as possible. Mm-hmm. Which, with you've seen our plant, we have so much innovation in there, so much automation.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Our team members are happy. Like, you've walked the floors, they smile. When have you ever gone to a packing house and seen somebody just smiling?
It's almost unheard of.
Yeah, it was definitely a shock when I got in there, and it's the culture,
And that's all driven from the very top,
it's
obviously,
driven from the
Walt.
very top. Yeah, Walt. Like I said, he's probably the best mentor that I've ever had the opportunity to work for, because he is. He's pro people, not employee, not team member, people. The thing, stuff like that is like we treat them as workers. Mm-hmm. Most organizations, you have your management and then you have your hourly. We don't do it that way. Everybody is the same. Everybody is equal. Our roles are different. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. Like, I will talk to Walt the same way I talk to the guy running the floor scrubber, because I'm not better than him. He's not better than me. The only thing that's different is our roles are different. Mm-hmm. It's the people aspect. You have to treat them as people, not workers.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
And when you do that, they buy in. Mm-hmm. You open a conversation where they're comfortable coming to their leadership teams and talking to them about issues they may or may not have. So, it's an amazing place to work.
It is an amazing place, man. I really enjoyed coming out. How do you deal with, you touched on it, and this is something that I see in a lot of places, if we can get employees to be forthcoming and transparent, come to us and say, hey, this is a problem, or this has been, how do you deliver the disappointment? Like, if you can fix something, that's wonderful, right? If they bring something, like you said, not everything that the line employee brings forward is actually something that can or should be addressed from a safety standpoint. What do you do with the, hey, I'm sorry, that's
we talk to them, right? It's like, we don't want them to stop coming up with ideas, because a lot of places, we don't want to be that department or that leadership team where, a team member's brought a concern to us and we don't do nothing. Right. A lot of places don't even give the feedback.
Exactly.
And so the people shut down, right? Yeah, so it's like, oh, don't go tell Jeff. He's not going to do nothing about it anyway. So we don't want that. So even if it's something we can't do, we'll go talk to them and we'll explain to them why it's not feasible. We just don't go up to them and say, hey, man, we're not going to do that. It's not, no, we owe them an explanation. They took the time to identify something. They've have an idea that they want to see implemented, and we owe it to them to give them the why we can't do it. So,
are you tracking that as well somehow? At least that you've made some attempts to communicate with them.
We do that with the mainly with the failed observations or something like that. That is tracked. Like I said, we just started this senior leadership one where my safety team, they'll go out to the floor and they'll give them feedback. The supervisor's on the floor. But right now, there's currently no way that we track the follow-up process. And that's something that we need to develop and see how can we manage that. Because the observation program right now, I mean, you've seen it. It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And that's just one aspect of what some of the stuff we're doing is out there. That's just one. And it's so hard to manage.
Can you describe some of the inherent challenges in your particular industry that you have with implementing some of these? I mean, just the sheer number of employees, multiple shifts.
Yeah, we just
you got language issues, cultural issues. I mean, it's remarkable.
The thing when you're dealing with so many different, cultures, environments, you want to make sure that everything's standardized. Whatever the message is that you're putting out on first shift, you want to make sure that's on second and third. Like recently, we identified a gap that we didn't have a third shift safety committee. So we developed our own in-house third shift safety committee. I had a team member who works on our sanitation team that she stepped up and she wants to get into safety. So I took that as an opportunity. She has drive. She's motivated. I'm going to send her out, get her OSHA 30. But here's one of the things. You want to show me how you want to develop yourself? I'm going to help you get developed. You're going to run our third shift safety committee. And we just started that. We've had 2 meetings. I've gone in at 1:30 in the morning to help her facilitate it. But it's hers. Mm-hmm. Danny, that's her safety committee. Mm-hmm. Jovan, he's our new team member. Mm-hmm. You haven't met? Did you meet him?
I met him. Yeah, it was like his first day.
Yeah, he's gonna do great for us. But it's their committees. I want them to run it so that's effective, right? Mm-hmm. So when they meet, they go through any SIF type injuries that we may have had, any observations that they do, because our safety committee also does observations, right? The same format, same everything. Theirs is just on paper. And they'll come up with action plans and stuff like that. And they'll start moving that needle on the floor too. But what I want it to be consistent. So whatever their topics are, I want them to be the same. Now, how they deliver it, that's up to them.
Okay.
But the topic or the talking points should all be the same. But when you're in this type of environment, people, how do I put this? People have their opinion or their perception of how things should be done. But if you're consistent with it and you have a standardized method of delivery, it makes it pretty simple. Mm-hmm. We have our weekly staff meetings where everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing. I think the biggest issue in packing houses is communication. Yeah. How do you get your message across to everybody?
Can I ask you, how have you attempted and apparently succeeded in getting that front line of supervision to buy in?
You talk to them. You don't go to the floor and, like I said, puff your chest out. You're not demanding. You're having a conversation with them. It's like, if it was you, like, hey, Doug, what's the most serious safety concern in your area? You're managing this, or you're the supervisors, or what are you seeing? And if they don't know, you start throwing them little pieces out. You're coaching at that time. Because in the safety world, that's what we are. We're teachers. We're coaches. It's just like with a football team. What method do you use to get your message across that helps them to perform their best? Each person is different, and you have to talk to them different, or you may have to talk to them at a different level. But the message needs to be the same. It's just your delivery to them. And if you go up to them, and like I said, most places you go to, the only time you ever talk to somebody in senior leadership is if something really bad has happened or you're in trouble. But if you just go up to them out on the floor and say, hey, man, how you doing? How's your day going? Oh, Jeff, this is, is there anything I can help you with? Right? Get them to trust you. Once you build that trust with them, it's like a river, man. They just flow with ideas because they're the ones out there. They know the process better than anybody in that building because they're dealing with it 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's where we get our best ideas from, is from that mid-management level and the hourly level. That's where our best ideas come from.
Mm-hmm. Your plant has not existed long enough.
Yeah.
It's a relatively new plant, all things considered. It has not existed long enough to have a bunch of those 30-year people that are just naysayers
yeah, we've always
and negative.
Done it like this, right?
I'm not, I'm not changing. I'm not doing that. So,
no, this is a blank. This is what's so refreshing about it. It's a blank canvas, right? And it's poultry. There's not a lot of poultry plants in Nebraska, if you haven't noticed, right? No. So everything's brand new, shiny. We have a chance to mold it and shape it the way we want.
It's remarkable, yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Like the previous employer I had, they've been around over 100 years now. Mm-hmm. They have their culture in place. Right. They have, the way things are done. We're still trying to identify who we want to be, right? That's like we branded our safety as safety starts with me. That's our brand. We have a logo and everything because it's a product. You want to sell your safety product to your team members. We had a huge contest, and this was, this is one of Walt's ideas is, hey, how do you want to identify yourself as a team? And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, what's your message going to be? And it's the safety starts with me. Because most places you go to, you see that little moniker, safety starts with you. Or not, was it you? Safety, I don't know what it is. Or safety starts with team or whatever. No, it starts with me. I dictate my own safety. I'm going to be the one who makes the decision that's ultimately going to get myself hurt, or it's going to be my decision to prevent somebody else from getting hurt. So it starts with me. It doesn't start with you. That's what it is. Safety starts with you. Yeah. It doesn't start with you. It starts with me. Mm-hmm. So it gives the team members ownership, right? And like I said, the more ownership they have, the more they buy into it, the more productive, the more safe they're going to work. Yeah. And it shows. It's been proven. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. And so the plant is maybe what?
5 years.
7 years? 5 years old?
No, the construction part, we've been in operation for 5. Yeah,
okay. I was around during the construction.
I remember you reached out. You said, hey, man, you want to come over? And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm comfortable. And I think that's what it was. I think I was comfortable.
Probably. Familiar.
I wasn't really challenged, right? Because I'm not knocking my previous employer, but it was like, safety, you're over here.
Well, you learned a lot there, man.
Oh, yeah. You learn. I try to take the good and the bad and learn from both. Mm-hmm. Because, I've had great mentors. I've had not so great mentors, but even the not so great mentors teach you things like what not to do.
Absolutely.
How should you be talking to people, right? So I did learn a lot. And like I said, I didn't have a safety background when I started. And I still don't feel I have a safety background. I just like talking to people. Mm-hmm. So, managing the safety program, that's just the benefit of being allowed to go talk to people all day.
And my observation is you seem to have a very sincere concern for these employees, your coworkers. Even back at the other place, I can remember being in your office at the other place when I would come around, and on your whiteboard there was always, I don't know if the message was intended for your team members, the people that would come in, but there was always something on your board about, why we do this, who we are really doing this for. It's not about the product going out the door. It's about that was always the message that.
Right. And see, I'm not in I'm not in the poultry business. I'm in the people business. I can tell you the process of what happens when it comes in off a trailer and how it gets to a box and the equipment that goes into it. But as far as, air sac and, the terminology used for the meat processing, that's not me. That's not my role. My role is, okay, this is your product. These are the people that's going to make your product. Mm-hmm. This product's going to make us money. I'm going to protect our biggest asset, which is the people who make us that money. Mm-hmm. So it starts and stops with the people. If you don't have the people to do the job, if they're getting injured or they're working in unsafe conditions, how well do you think your product's going to turn out?
I love that. I'm not in the poultry business statement. Just in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm not in it.
That should be on your T-shirt. I'm not in the poultry business. I'm in the people business. I love that. Now, I'll probably steal that.
You can use whatever you want, though.
I appreciate it. I'm scrambling to write all this stuff down, but it is fascinating. So, you have some ideas for the future. What kind of things would you like to see evolve? You don't have to get into the specific details, but you got some ideas
I don't
you think
know,
that would make things better?
Like I said, man, our plant is like almost completely automated, where we're taking the human element out. I mean,
to the degree possible.
Yeah, like you've seen our robotic trussing.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about that.
We're adding more lines. I mean, this was a huge innovation where, we had an area of our facility where we're seeing, injuries happen. So, again, going back to Walt, it's like, okay, what can we do to help our team members on the floor? And for people who don't know what these trussing robots are, so you get a rotisserie chicken. It's got these little rubber bands on them that go around, the legs.
Kind of hold the legs and wings in place.
You see, it's that corded ribbons type stuff that's elastic. And we were having all kinds of issues where people were stretching and pulling them and wrapping them. It's a lot of repetitive.
They were doing that by hand.
By hand. And it's the speed of what you're doing. It's amazing to watch. And you're like, holy crap, right? Well, and we weren't having severe injuries. It was like first aids, string type stuff. So, he found a company that makes these robots that automatically do that for them. So I was like, it's an amazing process to watch. Mm-hmm. So, we're always looking for opportunity to just take the human element away from the hazard or the risk. Mm-hmm. And I think, moving forward, we just have to find more companies out there that are investing into this type of technology, because technology is going to be what moves the meat industry forward. Mm-hmm. People will always be a part of it, but it's going to be the technology part of it that's going to move it into that next niche or next hierarchy or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, technology for sure. And if I could figure out a way to automate live hang, I would be a billionaire, because you still have to manually grab the bird and hang it up on a shackle. Yeah, coming out of the
as it comes out of
the modules. Yeah, so as they come out, you still got. If I could figure a way to do that, I would never have to work a day again in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had that same thought. No, I haven't actually thought about how to address it. But having been in the facility,
want to go in a partnership together? We'll get this figured
out. Let's think about it, man. Cam's in.
You in, bud? Yeah.
But it is remarkable, because every bird that comes into that facility, and the numbers are staggering, is actually touched.
2 million birds a week is touched by at least 2 million birds a week are touched by a human being.
It is remarkable. Yeah. And as a carnivore, I want to thank you. It is interesting, because having been in so many different facilities, pork, poultry, beef. I've been in lots of different facilities. I do have to. I take no joy from an animal being harvested, but I am grateful, for the nutrition. I'm a carnivore. I have these little pointy teeth, that tear meat and things, and I seem to have a digestive system that can process protein. So I love it as a food source, but it is sometimes challenging for particularly people that are not familiar with the industry.
Right.
I can remember at OSHA, the first time we would take a new compliance officer into a slaughter or a harvest facility and just watch their reaction, because as you said, it is overwhelming that first time. So we bring somebody in. Occasionally we converted people to vegetarianism immediately. Sometimes, there was always, there was a ritual that night you would always go out for steaks,
Right.
and just see if they turned green or if they would just chow down or whatever,
Well, people like to eat food, but they don't want to learn the process of how it gets to their table.
Right.
Right.
And that's true for vegetables
Anything.
as well, right? For anything that's...
I'm a carnivore. I only strictly eat animal-based products.
Yeah, you actually are a carnivore diet person.
I'm actually a carnivore.
Right.
And if people actually knew, and I'm not going to get on this go down this rabbit hole, but if people actually knew how their fruits and vegetables are processed, they would probably have a different mindset. The chemicals that are applied to it, the environmental impact of
even just harvesting vegetables.
Yeah, the environmental impact on that is just insane.
It just all of the flora and fauna that are in those fields that are being destroyed when they're harvesting. It's not, none of this stuff is pretty.
No.
It is interesting.
But we do what's ever the most humane
Absolutely.
for that animal. I mean, we have a great animal welfare program, and our vet, he's out on the farms every day making sure that these birds are treated properly.
Yep.
Right. So we don't have any animal welfare issues when it comes to stuff like that. So,
right.
I mean, people love chicken, and other than eggs, because we can't get eggs now for some reason, and that really sucks for my diet because I eat eggs almost every day.
I know, man.
8 more payments and I'll own that carton. I'll own that carton of eggs. I only got 8 more
I just buy them one at a time now. I can't buy a whole dozen.
Yeah.
Bring my egg home in a towel.
Remember when you were in school and you was going through, what was that, where you had to carry the egg?
It was like an engineer. Oh, that was like a birthing class or something
like
when you're
middle
learning
school,
about having.
You have to carry the egg around. That's how I treat my eggs right now. I was like, hell no, this one's
it's like
valuable.
your baby, exactly.
Yeah, it's my new 401k plan.
That's right, man.
Eggs.
Yeah, but I do appreciate that as well. The differences that I've seen over the last 35 years in, like as you said, the approach to
it's changed.
It has changed.
It's changed a lot. And this is what I appreciated about you when you were with OSHA and Matt and his team over there. Yes, they know they have to do that enforcement. If there's serious violations out there and employers aren't trying to do the right thing to protect their people, they have to do that enforcement part, right? But what I like about our area office and you in particular is you're on the coaching side. You want employers to know what to do because you can go through that 1910 and there's so much information in it. And that's why you also have letters of interpretation because everybody reads it and understands it differently. You may think you're doing the right thing to try to protect your people, and then you find out, oh, I'm not doing it right. And you guys would, especially with you, you'd come in and you'd be like, look, you're trying to follow best practices. You're trying to do the right thing. Here's what you should be doing. And you're educating. And that's what the team here at the area office is now. They're more on the teaching side than the trying to always pound it into you.
I think given the opportunity and a receptive audience, I think most of those folks would rather be coaching and teaching than hammering people.
Yeah, because even as the employer, you don't know everything.
Oh, absolutely
you can't know everything.
But I will be honest, I have learned so much about safety from people like you, safety directors, safety managers, safety coordinators, who actually care about what they're doing and care about the end results from these kind of conversations. I mean, I'm scribbling notes here. I notice you're not taking any notes, but I'm scribbling notes.
You're like a vault up here, bud.
It's a steel trap, baby.
It's a steel trap.
But, yeah, so I learned so much about safety from just these conversations. It would be nice. Well, I guess that is the point of the podcast, is to try to capture that and be able to share that with other people. Because as you were describing some of your mentors, not everyone is fortunate enough to have a lot of really useful, caring mentors. Right. I've had some, you've had some. Not everybody that's working in this industry has had that opportunity. So, why not provide them electronic mentors? Someone you can listen to this podcast when they're driving somewhere and maybe pick up a few pointers.
Like I said, this is a great format. Like, I've watched your videos, and my buddy Chris Bryant's been on here numerous times. I just love working with you guys, and the amount of experience that's out there. I mean, you can take something from everybody,
no doubt,
good or bad. there's always something there that you can take back to your facility or wherever you're at and try to implement it. And if you have a supportive leadership team that starts at the top, where it's people over product, you can change anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how dedicated are you to it? How passionate are you about making that change? And a lot of people, they get overwhelmed, right? They'll get overwhelmed and they just give up.
Yeah. It is overwhelming.
Yeah, just
can be.
I used to do this thing at my last place. I would set my goals of stuff that I would implement, right? And there was usually 2 major ones that I wanted to get done, but I'd throw like 20 things at them, and hopefully 2 of them would stick, right?
To the management?
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I want these 20 things implemented. I want to add this. But I'd always put like a little asterisk next to the 2 I really wanted. Mm-hmm. And I'd go up there with like 20 different things. It's like, oh, you can only pick 2. Oh, okay, I'll do 2, right? And it's like, get the win there. But where I'm at now, it's like, this is what we need to make it better for our team members. Do it.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
There is trust developed in that direction as well.
Mm-hmm.
You go to your boss, you go to Walter, the boss, and say, hey, we need this. He needs to trust that we need this, that it's not a whim or that it's not superfluous.
What I like about Walt is he challenges you. Like, Walt is one of the smartest people on the planet, in my mind, because he's one of those guys that already knows the answer before he asks you the question, right? And if I come to him with, okay, but why do we need it? What's the benefit of it? Well, it's good for the people. Okay, run with that. But he doesn't want it to be something frivolous. It's like, a new shiny toy that you just want because it's out there. Mm-hmm. What's the benefit of having it?
Right.
Like, he'll challenge you. He'll question you. Where a lot of places, they're just, no, we're not doing that. But he wants to know the why.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they've been burned a few times. I mean, maybe it's kind of that cry wolf thing, right? Yeah, I mean, you come up here every week and say you want something new.
Well, it's like I said, if a team member comes up to you and it has a concern or a problem and you just blow them off, how receptive are they going to be later on down the road?
Oh, that's
right?
killer.
How are they going to trust you? He's like, oh, don't go to Jeff. He's not going to do nothing about it. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
If you have an issue or you have a concern, come tell me. If I don't know the answer, I'll go find you the answer. A lot of people just, like I said, you can't lead from a desk. You have to be out there. And I have a great team that's, 90% of their job is out on the floor. We have our safety committee member reps that are out on the floor, where they're allowed time off of their regular job to go do their observations as well. Supervisors are doing observations. So there's always communication going on the floor about safety. Mm-hmm. Plus we have, you've seen our display monitors, and we do little campaigns here and there to try to get that employee engagement. And, the more engaged you have your team members and the more you talk to them, the more productive they're going to be, the safer they're going to be, and they're going to enjoy what they do. I don't know the last time I went into a packing house and people were, happy about going to work.
And smiling.
It's and it was the weirdest thing is, when I first get there and I'm on my plant tour and Walt's walking me around and people are just waving. And I was like, that threw me off. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they calling us out? He's like, no, that's the culture.
That's who we are.
Yeah, we take care of our people and they take care of us.
Remarkable. Well, let's get to the important stuff, man. What's the Bearded Camper have on the agenda for this coming? Do you have some destinations laid out for the spring and summer?
Yeah, as soon as I get out of this chair.
You're heading out of town.
Yeah, we're heading out to Moab, Utah. So we're going to do a little bit of overlanding, go check out the arches, stuff like that.
It's a remarkable area.
We've never been there. I've driven through Utah, but we've never been there. My son, he's like really excited because it was one of those deals like, man, the weather's it's going to be warmer here than it is in Moab.
Yeah.
So it was one of those deals like, do I really want to go or do I just want to go do something else? And then I get home the other night and my wife's like, Riley's really excited. He was talking to his friends about going to Utah. I was like, well, I guess we're going to Utah then because Riley said we're going to Utah.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed.
No, I mean, I know what's funny is like, when I didn't start doing YouTube as I'm going to do YouTube, right? And I think I've told you this story. So I've always gone camping. I've always loved being outside, fishing, stuff like that. And we just got this brand new tent. And it was this huge 12-man tent, and this was the stupidest thing ever because it was November. But it was a warm day in November. We didn't check the forecast. It was like 60 degrees in November. Well, the next day it was on the high, it was like 27. So we get this big 12-man tent, it's taking Riley camping. He's like, "Hey, Dad, you should film this." And I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "Make a YouTube." Because Riley, when he was little, he was watching all these unboxing videos that kids do, and so he would watch them. I'm like, "Oh, you like that toy?" And I'd buy him the toy. And well, he wouldn't play with it. He just liked watching other kids play with the toys. Right. So I would buy him a toy, and then he'd start making. He's like, "Daddy, can I do a YouTube?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I would sit there and I'd film it, and he'd like, "Hey guys, welcome to Riley TV," and he'd do unboxing videos. So he's the reason I got into this. So he's like, "Dad, take your camera." So I did. And if you go back and you watch my very first video, it's hilarious because the editing sucked on it so bad. Like I'm sitting here, okay, I'm gonna stop recording. And you could see me walk up to the camera to shut it off. Yeah. I mean, it was so bad. But over time, I go out a lot. I do a lot of solo. I do a lot of extreme to, polar vortexes. I'll go camping on a polar vortex. I don't care as long as I live through it, which is one of the stipulations my wife's given me. She goes, "You can go camping anytime you want, just don't die." And I'm like, okay. Like we had that, what was it? We had that blizzard that came through here the other day with the 70-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah. I was out in it. Were you? I went camping and it destroyed my solar panel on my truck. I was so mad. Oh, man. They sent me a new one, so it's all good. But yeah, it's my midlife. So it's my midlife crisis.
It's a love, that you are just able to share with other people.
Right, and so, but what I found is, I've always like I said, I've always liked going camping, being outdoors. But what I found is the editing process from filming is, to me, it's you taking whatever footage you have and you get to mold it and shape it how you want it. So it's challenging, but it's very satisfying. And then I'll just upload the video. And I remember, I got 50 views. I was like so excited. And I mean,
you got 50 views? God damn it.
So I'd get like, I was like, 50 views. And I don't even know 50 people. So I was excited, right? And then over time. And I'm not a summer camper. I don't like camping in the summer.
Like hot summer?
Well,
I mean, what is it? Too easy?
Being a safety
Reminds
person,
you of being in the
safety
military?
person, this is going to sound really bad. I don't like people, when you're out camping, because you go to these state parks and they're so crowded. Packed and there's people running around and people just don't watch their kids. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to suggest we go camping on Memorial Day. That's the most fun weekend of the year in my opinion.
So it was funny you say Memorial Day. So last year, my wife loves waterfalls. So we try to find places that have waterfalls. So we got this wild hair that was, hey, let's go up to Minnesota. They have waterfalls. We'll do a camping thing. That was the only camping trip I ever went on that we never went camping. We camped in hotel rooms each night because every place was packed. Oh, yeah. You couldn't get in anywhere. Yeah. So we spent 3 days in Minnesota in hotels. It was awesome. Sucked so bad.
Mall of America, baby.
Yeah. But no, YouTube has opened up, another avenue of artistic freedom, if you want to put it that way. It's my perception of what I think, camping is. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own niche or their own thing that they like to do when they go. You have your bushcraft type, like Chris Bryant. He would do like bushcraft, or he would do like homesteading. Mm-hmm. I have another buddy of mine who does homesteading videos, and I give him crap because I did a video out on his property, and he made a video on it too. And I was like, man, I'm the biggest celebrity you've ever had on your channel, right? Because his video blew up, and I was like, well, holy crap! I'm like, that's me, everybody's approach to it's different. I don't do it for views. I don't do it for, the sponsorship deals that I get or anything. I really did it to have something there for my kids to see after I'm gone. Mm-hmm. Right? This is Dad. This is what he liked to do. Mm-hmm. So that's always going to be out there.
A legacy of some sort. Yeah.
If you want to call it. Like Riley, it was his idea to start the channel, and I have to basically twist his, hey, watch my video. He don't watch
But one day he will cherish those, man.
It's memories. It's like he's not he's not a big outdoorsy kid. You know, he's in that age range right now where it's like Call of Duty and hanging out with his friends and stuff like that. And where I'm at the age where it's like, that's my son. Hey, man, let's go do something. But I'm not the cool dad, right? No kid wants to go, I don't want to go hang out with my dad. No, he's not that way. But, you know, that's why when we do these trips to Moab or we go up to Valentine. Or
he's excited about it.
And when he starts getting excited, I get excited. And my wife's like, you know, he doesn't like to go do that. I said, you know what, though? But it's building memories.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about going and doing it. It's the experience of it, the spending time together. Not every trip is successful. You know, there's failures out there. Your gear fails or your vehicle fails or something. But that's what makes the best memories. Because if you just go out there and you're like, oh, I seen a waterfall. Yeah, but what happened?
Right.
You know, did you do your risk assessment? No.
Right.
Don't walk on the rocks.
But it's hard not to, I would imagine, having a safety mindset.
Like it's
even in your, you know, non-work life. It is for me.
Yeah.
It's constantly.
Like, how often do you go into Walmart and check the fire extinguishers? I do it every time. Every time. I'm terrible about it. And then I always sit with my back to the kitchen facing the door. You know, your situational
at a restaurant or whatever. Yeah.
Where's the exits? You know, I'm that guy, and my wife's like, we'll get down. I was like, hey, you need to move over here, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, I have to sit there. That's my seat.
That's my spot. I'm like,
to be able to see
I'm like
the door.
Sheldon Cooper, Big Bang Theory. You're in my spot. You know, get up.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. But I'm sure those skills have actually served you well out in the wild, so to speak.
Yeah, because you know when camping's there's a lot of unknown hazards camping. You know, you have wildlife, you have they're called widowmakers or deadfall trees. That wind, I mean, that one was probably the stupidest one I've ever done because there were so many unknowns. There were so many hazards. Like, so I parked my vehicle and I have a rooftop tent, so I was camping up. Well, I'm right on the riverbank. Well, what's happening right now? The river's thawing out. If I'm in a rooftop tent and it's windy, I'm not going to hear the water level rise, and it's going to be too late, right? Then you had the rooftop tent that I was in was only rated for like 45 miles an hour. I have 70-mile-an-hour winds, but I parked into the wind, so, you know, go up over. And then you have the deadfall. Okay, these are old trees that I'm parking kind of under, but they're a little bit behind me. But if one of those fall, you know.
Yeah.
But you do it for the views, Doug. You do it for the people.
Well, I do it to get away from the insects. Personally, I remember sleeping on sandbars all the time, and there's
summer camping,
you wake up and there's
bugs,
stuff crawling on you.
I don't like bugs.
No. Well, man, I hope you have a great trip. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.
My boys are in their 20s, and we are still doing, 1 week a year. We're trying to do that family trip. They both live out of town. So
where did you say you were going?
This summer, we're going to Iceland. So we're taking the boys to. That was one of their suggestions.
You're living my bucket list, buddy.
Well,
I would love to go there.
I'm 20 years older than you. So.
Are you going to get one of those? Because you can rent those overland vehicles they have. Like, they're monsters. Big tires.
I don't know if we're doing that. We're going to be on land for a while, and then we're going to do a little bit of cruising around the top of the island and a little bit of driving, and so we're putting that together right now.
Yeah,
but
you're gonna have to send me pictures. Come show me pictures of that one.
It'll be but once a week, we have dedicated that we are going to get all four of us together as long as we can, right, and get out and do something. Because once they leave home and they have their own lives, it's harder to make that happen.
Because all my daughters are out of the house. Riley's the baby; he's still in the house. And once they got out of the house, it's like you don't even know you have kids, man, because they take off. They do their thing.
They should. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, but as a parent, it sucks. You're like, you always start them when they're little. Hey, you keep this up. You're gonna be out here when you graduate. And then they leave, and then you're like, oh, come visit. Right. Like,
no doubt, man. They come back around.
Oh, I know they do.
They will come back around. Hey, we're taking you to wherever.
Yeah, no. Y'all pay your own way. No.
Jeff, it's a pleasure, man.
Hey, man, like I said,
it was too long, and I hope we can do it again. I love what you do. I've learned a lot from you and how you practice safety, but more about the people aspect of what you do. Mm-hmm. Such a big part of it, and I appreciate that, man. So.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Like I said, it's been an honor to watch you develop and grow with this platform. Yeah. It's not hard, and
I appreciate it.
It's consistency, but don't take too many months off at a time.
No, I think we're done taking our break.
You got to be consistent with it.
You do. You got to keep it fresh and keep it coming out there. So we'll keep doing it. I've got some really great guests scheduled coming up, so I'm excited. So hopefully we'll keep putting out.
We'll have to get your guy out here. we'll go on a camping trip where he can video the whole thing. We'll do hazard recognition with Doug. That'd be hilarious.
Cam, are you a camper?
Count me in. Yeah. I love
All right, we'll do it, man.
Have you seen his beard? Yes, he's a camper.
He's
Come
obviously
on,
a
man.
camper.
Hey, you can't go camping without a beard like
That's
this.
like, yeah,
Well, give me about 2 years. I'll be ready.
I don't know about 2 years.
All right, guys. Hey, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. And keep up the good work. We appreciate you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
have a
bud.
good trip, man. Safe
Appreciate
travels.
it. Appreciate
Later. Thanks, Cam.